the people that's building the actual platform, the metaverse platform, the world is the one governing it. There's going to be privacy policies and terms and conditions that people have to follow, and if they don't follow it, they'll get banned from it, and then they'll lose their emote, their
avatar.
What do you call them? The avatar, yeah. They'll be gone, and then they just be like, "What happened to Samir? Doesn't live here anymore. What happened to his house?"
Yeah, it's just a blank, empty space inside of a metaverse.
Exactly. You see a for sale sign on there, Yeah.
Eric Ma, welcome to Pioneering in the Metaverse. Thank you for joining us. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Nice to see you again. Congratulations on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing some of your time, and congratulations on some of the things you do. For those who don't know Eric, who I've had the privilege of speaking to on a number of different things over the last year and a half, almost 2 years. But you were previously at CoinMarketCap, and that's sort of where you helped grow that community and very front facing, which is something that I think has stuck with you all the way through. You were then with the Deeper Network, but you still are the chief evangelist for that project, which is such a cool title. It was the first time I'd ever come across it when I saw it in your description. And now you're the CEO of Tidex Global Crypto Exchange. So I wouldn't be doing justice if I said you were busy, because you are more than busy. I'm not sure how you have time for yourself, but thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Yeah, it's fun talking about the metaverse.
That's right.
I heard this term in a few months now.
Why do you think that is? Maybe we'll start there. Why do you think it's not as prevalent as it was? Because when it arrived, it was, like everybody was talking about it. And more so recently, obviously, with the bump in AI interest, that's sort of taken over. But the metaverse is still there. People are still building, just not talking about it. Why do you think that?
Well, I think Mark Zuckerberg, he kept talking about it, changed Facebook into Meta. And everyone was expecting this amazing thing, right? And he spent billions of dollars on it. And then what he actually released that one time, everyone remembers, that cartoony thing with the Eiffel Tower in the back. It just became a joke. And I think that really killed it for a lot of people. And then just overall, there's just a lot of things, life moves on, and there's a lot of things going on in the global community with the wars and the bad markets and all that stuff. People just kind of lost interest in it,
So how do we recapture that interest? Because the metaverse is not dead. It's only going to continue to grow from here.
Exactly. Well, I think it's up to Mark Zuckerberg now. I mean, it feels like he's really been taking the lead on this thing, Let's not talk about a lot of the other projects in the blockchain industry. In the blockchain space, which they have projects dedicated to metaverse. But Mark Zuckerberg, having spent so much money and continuing to spend so much money on it, I think I saw the Apple Vision Pro and what they've done with that. That was, 100 times better than what I saw, what he previously released. He obviously wasn't very impressed with the original release, so he fired the whole team, probably rightfully so. But I'm kind of excited about it now. I've always been a user. I have the original Oculus. I think they're up to the Oculus 2 or 3 now, but I still have the original Oculus right here. This thing you could just kind of slip on your head, and you got these remotes. But and I've always been a big fan of it, and just for entertainment, just being in your home, you could put this thing on and you could just be in a different world, and it feels like a different world, and it's really cool. It's just a new way to play. And to work, you can even work, like you think about people, maybe just 6, 7 years ago when Zoom, conference calling was like, revolutionary, and
Yeah.
people weren't really used to it. And
Yep.
then you got before that, you had like, of course, you have decades of like, phones and all this revolutionary technology. But now Zoom calls are the norm. And it would be weird for people to request to have a meeting in person sometimes. So it's just like, let's just jump on Zoom. I mean, you and I right now are on Zoom, right? And then
And there's a
in
12-hour
terms of,
time difference between us.
well, that too, yeah. That certainly makes it a lot easier for us to do this, instead of having you fly here or me there. But the metaverse, people are just like, why? Why do we need that? And so far we haven't seen too much in terms of like an actual, real life, real use case for it. But I think eventually it will come out. All it takes is one app or one program that's a software or a piece of software that'll make it it'll revolutionize the thing. Like people, everyone will start talking about it and using it. Just like when ChatGPT came out, I mean, it's still a huge thing, And
Suddenly the average user is aware of AI in that situation. So we need something like a ChatGPT for the metaverse that'll allow for the average consumer, the average user who may not necessarily be uber interested in the entire space, but is interested in the use case, seeing something or taking that initiative to go, I'm going to try this, and then getting hooked ultimately.
Yeah, well, ChatGPT is, I think, a lot easier because it's an app, right? Well, I think the app just came out recently, but it was a website, and you don't need money to use it unless you want to upgrade to ChatGPT 4.0. Yeah, you spend a little bit of money, but it's really easy on the pocket. It doesn't cost much money. But I think the thing with VR and metaverse, it's expensive to get into it. I mean, my Oculus, when I bought it, was $499 US. It's not a lot, but for a lot of people, that is a lot, especially for a toy, and that doesn't have that much. It's really just for entertainment. You can play poker with people sitting next to you and stuff,
Right.
I play paintball
over at their hands.
yeah, it's just stuff like that. But
so is that the barrier ultimately?
I think that is one of the main barriers. I think for sure that's one of the main barriers. Because think about it, without the device on your head, without the Apple Vision Pro, which is going to be, $3,000, which is outrageous, but it is a computer. It is a little bit more than what the Oculus can do. But without those, you can't have that immersive experience. You can't look at your computer screen and call it a metaverse, Can't look at your phone. Actually, before the Oculus, I had this, the cardboard thing. I forgot what it was called, and you could put your phone in it. And I had that, and that was cool. I thought that was cool.
So when you say early adopter, you really mean early adopter.
Yeah, I think it was called a Google box or something. I can't remember the name of it. Do you remember it?
I remember vaguely seeing it, but I don't remember. Was it actually made out of cardboard?
It was. Yeah. Yeah, then they came out with knockoffs, like plastic ones and whatever,
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no technology in it. It's just the way it's shaped, so you can stick your phone in there.
Yeah, well, that's the idea ultimately, is just the ability to immerse yourself. So outside of the financial component, it sounds like the actual hardware, maybe not so much the software, because the software is going to grow rapidly. I think we can all agree on that, just given the trajectory of everything that we're doing, the introduction of AI, speeding things up significantly. The software, I'm not concerned about. The hardware component is still going to be that next barrier outside of or after the financial consideration, because to your point, it's a big bulky piece of thing that's going to be very hard. I mean, even the Apple Pro, I was thinking to myself, how comfortable is it to walk around wearing that for prolonged periods of time? Even if you wanted to watch a movie, let's say for 2 hours, and to have that just sitting pressed up against your face is a long time, right? Like you almost have to take it off to be like, all right, I need a moment. Ray-Ban, I think I saw recently, partnered with Meta on a pair of sunglasses that has, I believe it's AR capabilities inside of them. And that's where I imagine metaverse immersive interaction will head towards from a hardware perspective. Getting kind of like our cell phones, just getting smaller and lighter and more mobile and portable.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when I use the Oculus, one of the main complaints I have is the heat. You put it on for a while and it generates a lot of heat, and also just having stuff pressed up against your skin, you sweat, and that's not very comfortable. I could watch movies on it. You could there's a default feature where you can watch a movie on Netflix in a log cabin that looks like it's like on some other planet. It's just really cool. There's a fire on and it's a round room, and it's quite enjoyable for 15 minutes. But then after that, you're just like, I'm going to take this off, watch it on my phone.
Well, obviously, there
definitely. What you said is right. I think it needs to become smaller, cheaper, where you don't even feel it. And maybe there's not even anything on your face. I mean, look at what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink. He's looking for, I think the news broke today, he's looking for a volunteer who's willing, just one volunteer who's willing to have wires connected to their brain and get chipped. And who knows what that'll do, because obviously you can affect how we see things through just wires and cables. And, we've seen movies like Minority Report by, with Tom Cruise and stuff, like just a lot of different things. And I think all these technologies will converge where once they start partnering up, where they borrow technologies from each other, it's going to be something else that we haven't even thought of.
So it's for all of this to work, it sounds like there has to be interoperability between multiple different projects. Like it's going to have to be a group community effort to build out the metaverse to what we envision it will be. It's not going to be just Meta. It's not going to be just, Elon Musk.
Meta can do it on their own, I think.
Well, maybe if there was one company that could, it would be them. Most likely, yeah.
And they can't do it on their own with what they have now. They would go out and buy, smaller companies that can do it. And that's basically what they've done.
Right. Well, that was their social media strategy ultimately when they started buying up some of the other platforms like Instagram and Snapchat and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So do you foresee, so there's the financial consideration and then there is the hardware component. What's the next barrier after that? Because I feel like even after those two, there's still going to be some level of resistance or hesitancy to adopting the metaverse. I mean, some of the most common things I hear, and it's not necessarily a criticism, but it's more so I don't think this is for me, is the concept of people saying, I don't know if I want to detach from reality because we're already so detached from reality. Why would I want to further immerse myself in that?
It's definitely there's definitely a movement towards that, but I don't see that slowing down at all. I think that will be kind of a niche movement where that will always be around, like be a vegetarian or be vegan, and it's just a movement that's always going to be there, But I think the way the world has moved, technology has led everything. And unless, something major happens, it's going to continue that way. I think the next barrier is definitely social. It's got to be cool and it's got to be mainstream, obviously. And people have to accept it. And, even if it's just the thing looks like a pair of sunglasses, but the fact that you're doing things and waving your hand around and, it's like Bluetooth, having the Bluetooth in your ear and talking to somebody, that's kind of accepted now,
Whereas at the beginning, you used to wonder why a person was talking to themselves.
Yeah. But then, I mean, socially, it's not acceptable, everywhere. But people see it now and they don't think it's weird. They're just like, he's doing business or whatever, And then, so with the glasses or goggles, it has to be accepted so that people are just like, oh, cool, he's got one of those, But right now, if you're walking around at a park with the people just look at you. They have funny videos where like dogs look at their owners like playing the game, and like the owner's just like doing this thing, and the dog's got this weird look on his face. It's basically like we have to get over that part,
Right.
and then I think we're good.
Okay.
That's the social aspect, I think. Yeah.
Do you timeline? Or what's the, in your mind, amount of time before we actually get to that, before we get to the point of adoption? So the metaverse concept has been around for quite a while, but really took off in 2021, I'm going to say. 2021, 2022 for a little bit. And now we're pretty much about to enter into 2024 in about a month or so. What point do you see the metaverse becoming part of our social fabric? Is it a 5-year thing, a 10-year thing, a next year thing?
10-year thing, I think.
Okay.
With the amount of money that's being poured into it just from Meta, you have other projects and a lot of, you have companies like HTC that's completely sold off their cell phone business to Google, but they've kept their VR aspect and focusing on that. I think 10 years, we're going to make some huge leaps and bounds. I mean, just look at in the short amount of, I think it was like 6 months when Zuckerberg first released the images of what the videos of what the metaverse they were building looked like. The joke, how stupid it looked. I think like 6 months, 9 months later, he came out with what recently came out. That was a short amount.
Did that episode with Lex Friedman?
That's right. That's right.
I'm
not an Apple user, but that Apple Vision Pro, I'm an Android guy, and but with the Apple Vision Pro, that is pretty impressive.
Well, it's a game changer because I think the plan is to, obviously the price point is going to significantly eliminate a large portion of the consumer market. There's no way around it. It's a $3,000 product, like you said, $3,000 US product. No. That is like buying a new MacBook laptop. So it's going to, I think I can see it becoming used at first by institutions per se, architects, universities, maybe the medical life sciences industry. But once they, like a lot of things, Apple, the price points become, and I say this loosely, somewhat reasonable at some point, I think you are going to start seeing a lot more adoption of that hardware. And I think once people are hooked on the capabilities, that's when adoption skyrockets, because Meta creates great products that it seems like more businesses use. Apple creates products that the regular individual uses.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that, Apple's going to significantly move this adoption piece a lot further.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think could potentially hinder the metaverse? What could, in your mind, what is maybe barrier is not the right word, but what is the risk to the metaverse being adopted and growing? Is it AI? Is it some other alternative form?
I always go back to the economics. I think macroeconomics is going to be a big part of it. When Meta is strapped for cash or hurt for money, they're going to have to do something, slow down or put on the back burner. That's one. But in terms of technology, AI is definitely not going to hinder it. AI is something that's going to be integrated into everything. AI might even create a world where jobs aren't necessary anymore. 90% of the jobs aren't necessary. And we might go to a society where, universal income is actually real, and we just a totally different life. And there'll be textbooks where to talk about people sitting in a chair for 8 hours working, 10 hours working, that'll be a thing of the past. And yeah, it's funny, right? But it could very much be real, and life would just really be about it'd be about something else, you know? It's not even about money and working hard anymore. It's just be totally about something else.
Mhm.
Can't even imagine. I'll be long gone by then, I think. But what would hinder? I mean, what do you think? What would
I would agree
hinder?
with the economics component. I think that could potentially slow it down. I think there's a lot of focus on AI right now and AI software tools for Web 2 users. I think that's where AI is moving in the direction of helping more people who not necessarily transition into Web 3, but more so utilize some of those tools that, surprise, surprise, are, things that Web3 users are already, adopting and using in some ways. I also wonder if the metaverse piece will be able to grow if projects don't necessarily work together. Because I'm always the type that's concerned when one particular organization or company becomes the central dominant leader in one space. So like if Meta, for example, is the only organization that was able to put out a physical hardware product and an incredible piece of software product, and suddenly anything metaverse related in some way, shape, or form has to go through them, I think that becomes concerning. I
Yeah,
think in order for this to be, because, to the point that you made about the cartoon element of, Meta's initial concept, I'm in agreement with you. I'm very much the type that unless it's, realistic or hyper realistic, wink, wink, ever dome, I don't think I could ever adopt a cartoon like Metaverse, me personally. But there is going to be a segment of the population who wants that very type of metaverse.
yep,
And so
absolutely.
the ability to have options, I think, is important. And if that's not there, you're going to alienate a significant segment of the population. I mean, kids love playing Roadblocks, right? That's pretty much like a cartoon game. And
Yep, my
so,
son loves it.
yeah, there you go. So there's got to be, I think the biggest hindrance would be if suddenly we find ourselves on multiple paths where we now have to converge and go down the same path, and one shoe does not fit all, in my opinion.
I think you mentioned a really interesting thing in that, monopolies and a single platforms and centralization. I think one thing that could definitely hinder the development of metaverse would be um, wrong intentions by the developer. So with
What do you mean by
Zuckerberg
that?
and Meta, well, what I mean is if they're building this thing to really invade on people's privacy and security and their personal, internet freedoms and stuff, and have too much control and the centralization aspect, that could hinder it from mainstream adoption. People are very much they're becoming more and more aware of privacy needs and the importance of these kind of things. And if they see that the intentions, they're not going to use it. I mean, this is part of the reason why I think a lot of people have left Facebook. I mean, Instagram has, even though it's owned by Facebook or Meta, um, they've left Facebook because it was put on trial. They were being questioned by the government, and people were just like, "Oh, I'm done with Facebook." A ton of
Mm.
my friends left, and now Facebook feels like it's for old people, and everyone's on IG and Snapchat and who
TikTok.
knows, TikTok and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so I have an interesting question I like asking people because I don't know if I have a good answer for this yet. It's something that I constantly sort of reflect on. Who's going to govern the metaverse? Because the concept of the metaverse is, you go in and there's internet freedom and you get to sort of create your own world and do ABC. But who creates the rules for interaction? The easy answer to that, and I'm saying this part because I don't want you to throw out the easy answer, is, well, you just sort of mirror, how we treat each other in society today, things that might be considered, hate speech or whatever. But even that is debated in our current society. So how do you govern the metaverse?
Well, I don't know what the metaverse is actually going to be like, right? Is it going to be like the internet? I don't think so. Where, the internet, people, if you know how to code, it's just endless, right? There's no borders, and it's very, very hard to govern it. And they just have to pass laws, and there's a lot of organizations, government departments that basically kind of enforce these kind of things, right, regarding child pornography and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the metaverse, because it's visual, because there's graphics that need to be rendered and all that stuff, it has to be built. It's not just like anybody can come in and just build this whole new world right next to the existing one, And so answering that question, I think the people that's building the actual platform, the metaverse platform, the world is the one governing it. There's going to be privacy policies and terms and conditions that people have to follow, and if they don't follow it, they'll get banned from it, and then they'll lose their their
avatar.
What do you call them? The avatar, yeah. They'll be gone, and then they just be like, "What happened to Samir? He doesn't live here anymore. What happened to his house?"
Yeah, it's just a blank, empty space inside of the metaverse.
Exactly, and you see a for sale sign on there.
Well, okay, so that's actually a great point. How do you foresee economy building, an ecosystem, the ability to monetize and generate revenue? Because there's going to be the element of users who want to go in for purely entertainment purposes. Hey, my favorite musician is performing a concert inside the metaverse, and I want to go and simply enjoy it. I pop on my hardware, load up the software, sit back, enjoy the concert in a very immersive feel, which I imagine is what the Sphere in Las Vegas feels like, because you're completely immersed.
Yep.
But
they have that now on the Oculus, by the way.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. They set up cameras. There's concerts that you can actually purchase. I haven't purchased one, but I've seen videos of it. But basically, they set up a camera, a very high, kind of 360 camera, and they set it up at the concert, and people can buy it. And you can
so you still get that fully immersive. Okay. So
yeah, but everyone is watching it from that one. You can't move around. You're basically sitting there from that.
So there's still a limitation in that.
There is,
sense. Okay. So then there's going to be the element of creators, especially in the content creator economy that we live in today, where everybody can become a content creator. And content doesn't just mean social media content. It could be any kind of content, but or product wear. But then there's the element of people who want to build out businesses, generate revenue. How do you foresee that playing a role in the metaverse? And is that a necessity for the metaverse to be adopted?
Absolutely. I think that's going to be a huge, probably one of the main drivers of it once the metaverse is established, where it's a new channel for revenue, whether it's advertisements. If you're in there and you're walking around, people are going to advertise. You can advertise things on the moon, and in the metaverse, you can have 10 moons and things in the sky. Yeah. They're going to advertise everything. And these are things that I've thought about, having worked in the space. We were developing our own metaverse app, which is currently more of on hold because of the market situations. But
this is at
the
Tidex. Revenue.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Having the ability to make money from users is going to be a huge driver. You can retail shop instead of, no longer will you have to just scroll and buy something the traditional Web 2 way. In the metaverse, you can actually walk around and experience, window shopping just like it is in real life, and even better, because in real life there's physical limitations, there's physics involved, but in the metaverse there isn't. If you want to go up to the 10th floor, you could fly up there, and then go buy something up there. And it's just the whole experience it's literally out of this world. And I think having retail, I mean, a lot of high end brands right now are already in the metaverse, and they do a lot of fashion shows and they do different events in the metaverse just because they're seeing the um, the potential of making more money through different channels in the metaverse,
Well, I
and that's
imagine,
definitely
sorry to cut you off, but I imagine
no, it's good.
if I'm a luxury brand per se, there's two ways I could look at this. Number one is I can create virtual prototypes or digital prototypes inside a metaverse, showcase it to people. And if they like it, I then go and invest the resources into creating the physical product to sell to people. So instead of investing money upfront, instead of investing capital upfront to create, a new luxury shirt item, let's say, I can wait to see people's interest in actually looking with the product on them, assuming, you're in a hyper realistic metaverse, seeing the product on you, seeing how it fits you, that kind of thing. And then deciding, what, I like this enough. It's almost like replacing going into a store and trying it, but the company behind the scenes can save the resources and the time up front. And on the flip side of that, they can also, I foresee a scenario where we have a metaverse, you have a series of celebrities and influencers, and look at what so-and-so is wearing, and they're wearing this, and their avatar is dressed as such in the metaverse. I want my avatar to wear that too. And now you're spending money in the metaverse for a digital product that has no physical equivalent.
Yeah.
And it could just continue to flip-flop back and forth. And I think that, to your point, could be how you can start to generate an additional stream of income and revenue for some of these businesses.
Yep. And to take it a step further, those avatars, those skins, whatever it is they're wearing, could be an NFT. It could be a limited edition, original, and that just takes it to another level. And you could follow the history of who's actually owned this outfit in the metaverse.
Yeah. I didn't think about it that way. That's a really good point. How do you see NFTs playing a role in the metaverse component? I think right now, for a lot of people, they still split them up, right? NFTs are digital images that people have overpaid for. There's a lot of common responses I get.
Yeah.
So how do you foresee the use case of an NFT being integrated? That's one, and that's a fantastic point right there of how an NFT could be utilized inside a metaverse concept. How else could it be used?
Well, it could be used as your identity, right? In order to actually know all your information could be on the NFT. Not your private info, but the public info that you want people to know.
So you are an NFT.
Pretty much. They talked about NFTs being in passports, and these sort of things, and keys to your car in real life, where it's just, there's only one and it's original. There's no way to really fake it, But in the metaverse, for sure, NFTs could be that. It could be anything because it is digital. I think one of the things, I think Ethereum NFTs have a little bit of a challenge is if we're talking about images. Because right now, Elon Musk did talk about that in his recent interview with Joe Rogan, on how NFTs the images itself are not on the blockchain, like ordinals are. Ordinals, the images actually are on the blockchain. So there is an advantage there in terms of ordinals, but Ethereum needs to find a way to get the image on the blockchain, a video, a soundbite, whatever it is, not on some server. That's a URL that leads to some server where you can see it. And that's not true ownership. And so there are still challenges. NFTs is a totally different animal. There's so much more improvement that's needed for that. But it could definitely merge. And NFTs and metaverse go hand in hand. They will exist together. Absolutely.
Would you agree with the statement that, agree or disagree rather, with the statement that the metaverse, to some degree, when you go far back enough, there's going to be centralization, because there has to be an in real life organization that is building out the platform that then users are using. And so can the metaverse ever truly be decentralized?
I think it'll be both. I think could be parts of the metaverse which is very decentralized, maybe at the infrastructure level. But things within the metaverse, such as if you're talking about real estate, a certain building, those could be centralized, I think. If we're looking at it compared to like the internet, is the internet decentralized? Is it centralized? Obviously, some aspects of it are very centralized, right? You have the servers and the cloud servers and platforms and apps. These are all centralized, but now we're starting to get into an internet, the Web3 internet, where aspects of the internet could be decentralized, right? With DEXs and different platforms. I mean, this is still in development, but I think it could be a hybrid. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And the world will have to exist with both decentralization and centralization, and people will have a choice, you know?
What is you mentioned Tidex building out a metaverse. You don't typically associate, and I know you said that there's currently a pause given the market conditions. I think that's something that a lot of organizations are dealing with, is the current market conditions, the macroeconomic conditions, the macro global political conditions. It all sort of overlaps one over the other. But why would an exchange be interested in the metaverse?
Well, originally I came up with the idea because as a smaller exchange, you're competing against a lot of the big guys. You have to approach it at a different angle in order to cut out a little piece of the pie for yourself. And the metaverse was a very hot topic at the time. And I just saw it as an opportunity for people marketing opportunity as well. But also the way that I was approaching it was that this metaverse could be very Web 2 in a way that it becomes a way to interact with the exchange. So if you need customer service, you can go into the metaverse, and while you're there enjoying the other tools and features of it, you actually have access to the exchange for customer service. You have access where you feel like you belong. Your account is in the metaverse. You have real estate there. You have an apartment, and you could go there, and it allows people to come in and use it every day. You know, I want to attract people to log in every day. And it almost becomes like an app, right? Apps want people to log in. They want active users. So my approach was more like that. I wasn't, building a metaverse certainly isn't easy, but I was just trying to keep it small. I was even thinking of doing AMAs in public spaces, building a public space in our metaverse where I can hold an AMA and people can just jump right in and sit there and actually be there for the AMA that way. It's just a different way to experience it. It's not anything super revolutionary. I don't think our small exchange is capable of something like maybe what Meta is trying to produce, but I think Metaverse 1.0, what we're trying to do, or not even 1.0, 0.5, compared to what maybe Meta is doing. But it would be a start, and it would be interesting, and it makes us stand out a little bit.
What do you hope for when it comes to the metaverse? What's the Eric Ma ideal scenario from a metaverse perspective? You have a magic wand, you can wave it, and anything in the metaverse, anything metaverse related can happen. What would that be?
Well, I love to travel for work, for play, and a metaverse so realistic that you can just go. In our lifetime, it's impossible for us to visit every corner of the earth. I want to. I'm an avid motorcycle rider. I want to ride my motorcycle across every road on this earth and terrain. So my dream for a metaverse would be something where I could just jump on. Okay, so like right now, we don't have the metaverse, but often just when I'm bored, when I have some downtime and I'm thinking of something where I want to go somewhere, I will go on Google Earth Street View and I will just wander the streets. I want to see what it looks like. It's not immersive, but it's kind of immersive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could turn and look at the buildings and there's people on there. You just want to feel it. So with that said, I want a metaverse where at any time I could put something on and it doesn't have to be on, but I could just be immersed and actually feel like I'm there. And then, you know, if if I really, really like it, I might go there in real life. But otherwise I might just be like, well, been to Slovenia. It was all right, you know, and put
Does
that
full immersion
lower on my list.
Does full immersion have to also equal physical sensations? So when you talk about traveling to different parts of the world, assume for a moment you want to go ride your motorcycle, you know, in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and the time of year that you're deciding to do that, it's quite hot. Do you feel that for full immersion to really be a thing, there needs to be a physical sensation element to it? You need to feel the heat. You need to feel the wind on your face while you're on your motorcycle, or will that always be can you even see us getting there?
Not really. I don't think our bodies are so complex. There's so many sensory things on our body that I don't think we'll ever get there.
So is it mind, like a trick of the mind to be able to make us feel like
I think we're just after one thing. It's dopamine, you know, and it's just, I don't think people will want the sensation of danger and harm, where most people, I would say normal people, you know, like where it's like, oh, I want to, you know, experience where I feel like I'm getting burned if I touch something. And, you know, if something falls, a rock falls on my arm, I want to feel that, you know, that's cool. No, I don't think we're going to go there. People are looking for dopamine, and people are looking for an experience, positive experience. So we're never going to be able to taste, I don't think. But who knows, man? Neuralink, maybe we will. Maybe it's just a couple of signals that we can send to our brain. We could actually taste something, you know, and if you could actually grab something in the metaverse and somehow it just allows you to taste it, that's a, you know, but I think that's like, I don't know, 50 years away or something. Yeah. That's not in the 20.
Well, it's a scary thought to think that you need to implant a chip inside your head in order to get that full immersion experience. I mean, I don't know if I'm even ready for something like that. I'm very much an adopter of the metaverse. I think that the metaverse is sorely needed from a use case perspective. I think it could significantly change things. I think you can be based in one city and have your job based in another city. That's already happening more and more, especially over the last couple of years with remote work becoming more of a thing. But now I think it'll be adopted even further once you have scenarios where you can have your team meetings inside the metaverse and it's a fully immersive experience, a space where you can actually get together, work, have working sessions, and, you know, go from there. But to put a chip inside your head, I think is a fascinating and kind of scary thing, at least for me.
This, what you just mentioned, it just, as we talk about this more, just more and more things come to my head. Like, I could see a metaverse where we have not only one Samir, we could have 10 Samirs, and you could have 10 jobs. You could be doing 10 different things at once, you know, but maybe this is where NFTs come in. Which one is actually, you know, like every avatar needs to have an NFT so we can actually verify on the blockchain, you know, but
variants of Samir.
Yeah, maybe, right? And maybe it's acceptable and people are like, that's fine, you know, and then with AI coupled in there, that avatar acts exactly like you, would say exactly what you would say. So yeah. Yeah.
That's an interesting world to live in when we have that many people. I mean, I feel like I would be a lot more productive. I would get a lot more done if I had at least another version of
it. Program it out, say, you know, this is my objective to the AI at this meeting, but I can't be at this meeting physically. Like, my main person, but as a alternative, Samir, like this is what I'm going to accomplish at that meeting. Program it in, set it up, and then I'll be
Off to
talking
the
to that
races
one.
you go. Yeah.
Exactly.
My board of advisors are just 9 other versions of me.
You'll
So,
be really busy. I
so
could use that actually, with
I
my
think we
busy
could
schedule.
all use that in some way.
Yeah.
But I imagine you could really use that. And that was my next question here to sort of cap off this incredible conversation that we're having is maybe you can share a little bit about the work that you do with the Deeper Network as well as with Tidex, because you do quite a bit. And I want to make sure that you get an opportunity to sort of briefly touch on some of those.
Yeah, thanks. Well, with the Deeper Network, we're building Web3 infrastructure. We're trying to be the infrastructure for a lot of the aspects of Web3, which is being built out. We're very concerned about security and privacy, and we're figuring out a lot of things as we go in terms of new ways to mine and to empower people. I think that is really the main vision of Deeper Network is to empower people and have ownership and being able to own not only their data, but also everything that they can put energy, they see value, they can own it. And so that's what we've been doing. We're trying to continue to build our network. We have now over 120,000 nodes around the world. And this can really only happen if we have a massive network. Mm-hmm. It'll become more efficient, more private, more secure. And so that's kind of our short-term goal right now, is to continue to build out the network. We're also making improvements on a lot of the tools that we have.
And sorry, for those who don't know, DPN stands for Decentralized Private Network. So kind of think of a VPN that I think a lot more people would be familiar with, but this is a decentralized version of it. So instead of having your data tagged to one server that's corruptible, it's decentralized amongst all of the nodes that you just referenced.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult to attack. The network is a lot safer that way.
Right.
And our token is DPR, and we're trying to add, create more use cases for DPR, and you can mine it by sharing your bandwidth, unused bandwidth. So there's really nothing. You're not really spending much just by sharing your existing bandwidth. Right. At Tidex right now, we're focused on just running an exchange and just trying to survive the bear market. We think the bear market's coming to an end soon, and the bull market will come. And with that, with more revenue and more users, we will be able to do more and maybe pick up the Metaverse project. There's other things that we have on our plate in terms of on our roadmap, and a lot of partnerships that were put on hold because of the crypto bear market. So we like to revisit a lot of those things. But running an exchange is certainly very different than at a project, which is working on Web3 infrastructure. So it's quite different. There's a lot of regular business aspects about it, and so try to change gears every time. Whenever I'm doing things, it's interesting, and I'm also incredible. I advise other projects. I'm in a DeFi project as well, and so it's really interesting to get involved in a lot of different things. Going to conferences, opportunities always arise. It's always great to go to conferences, see people that and these conferences, we have to spend thousands of dollars going to these things. Virtual conferences are certainly going to be a thing as well.
Yep, where you can just fully immerse yourself inside of a conference based in the metaverse, and being a speaker or having a booth of some capacity. I think those are exciting ways that more people with physical limitations, and by physical, I mean the ability to get to a certain part of the planet, will then be able to participate a lot more.
Yep.
And I think that
And
opens up a lot more too.
and the physical limitations, very interesting. Now we can get into the world of people who are handicapped. You know, the metaverse could open the doors for them to experience new things that they've never experienced before. You know,
Wow, that's I never thought
socially,
about that one. Yeah, that's
yeah, because I'm actually seeing a lot more VR. I've been to museums, and this wasn't really great VR, but it was there. They had like 3 stations where you could put on the headsets. There was an archaeology thing, and you could go and dig, and it was quite poorly done, but the concept's there, and they're trying to make something of it.
well.
And
The
it
thing
was
I'm
so
most
nice.
excited about from that side of things is the I love history. And if I could go
Me
back in
too.
time to like the Roman Empire and just sort of walk around Rome, that would be incredible. And so if there is,
Oh yeah,
I'm waiting for the day that I can pop on a piece of
yeah.
hardware and just suddenly
It's
feel like I'm
basically time
walking through
travel,
Rome.
right, Samir?
Exactly. Yeah.
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 You know, it's funny. I read a post the other day. It was like, it was so funny. It was like, how many times do you think, as men, how many times do you talk about the Roman Empire?
Yeah.
And it was like, we do a lot,
A lot.
a
Yeah.
lot.
A
It's
lot
so
is,
weird.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
I think we all have this
hilarious.
fascination with going
We
back in
do.
time to the Roman Empire,
We
strolling down
do.
Rome. But Eric, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for having this conversation with us. And I think
You're
this
welcome.
was fascinating. You're doing some exciting things. Um, I'm excited and interested to see what comes out of the work that you're doing. And hopefully we can reconnect as you continue to build out your metaverse project, and we can talk about how that process is going and go from there. But thank you again for joining us on Pioneering in the Metaverse. This was really appreciated.
Thank you so much, Samir. You've been a great host, asking great questions. It's
I'm
always good
trying.
to talk to somebody who's smart and intellectual like yourself. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. We're going to make sure we clip this exact moment, and I'm going to pin it to my profile. Thank you.
So feel free
Amazing.
to.
Thanks, Eric.
Have a good day.
You too.